Pope Francis called for respect for each ethnic group and its identity following a meeting with Myanmar leader Aung San Suu Kyi on Tuesday, but avoided referring specifically to the country's persecuted Rohingya minority. Instead, the 80-year-old pontiff used his speech before lawmakers and diplomats to urge healing in a country suffering from conflicts that have lasted all too long and created deep divisions. Religious differences need not be a source of division and distrust, but rather a force for unity, forgiveness, tolerance and wise nation-building, he said, sharing a stage with Suu Kyi at the presidential palace in Naypyidaw. A former Nobel Peace Prize winner, Suu Kyi, has been ostracized by the global human rights community over her reaction to a military crackdown, which has seen more than 620,000 Rohingyas flee the country's Rakhine state. In her address to dignitaries, Suu Kyi acknowledged there had been a breakdown of trust between Rakhine's communities and the government, but she also did not mention the Rohingya by name. Of the many challenges that our government has been facing, the situation in the Rakhine has most strongly captured the attention of the world, Suu Kyi said. She added that the state was attempting to build peace by protecting rights, fostering tolerance, ensuring security for all. Read more. Pope faces tightrope act in Myanmar amid Rohingya crisis. Warning from Buddhist nationalists. A hardline group of Buddhist monks had warned on Monday that there would be a response if the Pope spoke openly about the Rohingya. Catholic leaders in the predominantly Buddhist country have reportedly urged Francis to respect the views of the government and the majority of the population that do not consider Rohingya to be citizens, instead calling them Bengali, implying they are from Bangladesh. Read more. Opinion. The Pope is visiting a minefield in Myanmar. The Pope is welcomed by Myanmar's President, Hin Kyaw, during a special ceremony in Naypyidaw from afar. Francis has repeatedly spoken out about the plight of the Muslim minority, calling them his Rohingya brothers and sisters, but taking a similar approach in Myanmar would be fraught with potential diplomatic danger, as the term Rohingya is viewed as unacceptable. Phil Robertson, Deputy Director of Human Rights Watch's Asia Division, said he was disappointed the Pope hadn't used his speech to draw attention to the Rohingya's plight. The Rohingya have been stripped of so many things, but their name should never be one of them, and we hope that the Pope will use the word Rohingya in his Mass Wednesday, he said. Read more. U.S. condemns ethnic cleansing of Rohingya in Myanmar. Meanwhile, DW correspondent Bastian Hartig reported that Buddhist nationalists had taken to social media to denounce the papal visit. They're very angry because they feel that he has been taking sides with the Rohingya. They feel like he's interfering in internal affairs, Hartig said. Interfaith talks. Before heading to meet Suu Kyi, the Pope held talks with Myanmar's religious leaders in the city of Yangon. A Vatican spokesman said Francis stressed a message of unity and diversity during a 40-minute interfaith meeting with Myanmar's Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, Christian and Jewish leaders. The spokesman said Francis told them to work together to rebuild the country, and that if there are arguments, they should reconcile quickly like bros. Francis also briefly met separately with Buddhist leader Sayadaw Savada in an effort to encourage peace and fraternal coexistence as the only way ahead, the spokesman said. Sayadaw has been criticized for using ethnic slurs against Muslims. On Tuesday, the first day of his Myanmar visit, Pope Francis traveled to the capital, Naypyidaw, to meet with Myanmar President Hin Kyaw above right and civilian leader Aung San Suu Kyi. Many observers were curious about what the pontiff, a staunch supporter of human rights, would say about the country's crackdown on the Rohingya Muslim minority. Earlier, Francis met with leaders of Myanmar's different religious communities at the Archbishop's residence in Yangon. During the gathering, the pontiff stressed the importance of unity and diversity, but made no mention of the plight of the Rohingya. Although only 700,000 of Myanmar's 51 million inhabitants are Catholic, that didn't keep thousands of well-wishers from meeting Pope Francis at the airport on Monday and lining the streets of Yangon in order to catch a glimpse of the Bishop of Rome. "We come here to see the Holy Father. It happens once in hundreds of years," one Catholic community leader, who brought 1,800 Christians from the south and west to the country on the long train journey to Yangon, told Reuters news agency. The Pope was greeted by ethnic minorities in traditional dress. About 88% of Burmese people identify as Buddhist. The government of Myanmar has been accused of ethnic cleansing, including the widespread murder and rape of Rohingya Muslims in the country's Rakhine state. Once refugees from Bangladesh, the Rohingya have been declared stateless and persecuted by the Myanmar government. The Pope is set to meet Rohingya refugees in Yangon. Soon after his arrival on Monday, Pope Francis received a courtesy visit from Myanmar's Army Chief Colonel Min Aung Hlaing. The Vatican did not provide details about the brief meeting. Myanmar's military has been accused of violent purges of Rohingya villages. After Myanmar, the pontiff will head to Bangladesh, where many Rohingya have fled. Some inside the Vatican have said that the trip was arranged too hastily after a visit by the now controversial leader Aung San Suu Kyi to Rome last May. Author Elizabeth Schumacher. 4-day papal trip. On Monday, the Pope received a courtesy visit from Army Chief Min Aung Hlaing, whose troops have been accused of committing ethnic cleansing and other crimes against the Rohingya population. The general denies the allegations. Francis' 4-day visit to Myanmar was planned before the recent escalation of violence, which began in August when attacks by Rohingya militants were countered by a major army offensive. Francis will travel on to Bangladesh on Thursday. NMRTAP, DPA.